Hey. Today we're talking about the great lock in. Okay. This is the time between September and December that everybody is like, okay, we got to pull ourselves together. We got to lock in. We got to make sure that we're slingshotting ourselves into 2026. If you think about it, every business that's out there, or most businesses that are out there, are spending this time period planning what their next year is going to look like. They're doing the work to be able to prepare for what that's going to look like. And on our level, we should be doing that the same. I like to liken this to like the back to school season. You know how I feel like we were kind of trained on this growing up, where July, August, September, we're feeling the need to suddenly go get flare pens. We're feeling the need to collect all of the post-it notes that we can grab and the new planner, so on and so forth. And that energy, I don't believe, changes as we become adults, essentially. Not all of us are in different college programs, but when it comes to being in our professional space, I think that energy is the same, which is why so many of us are like, okay, I have this goal. I need to lock in. I need to do what I need to do. I know what my 2026 is going to look like. I know what I want it to look like, but there's some prep work that we need to do in order to get there. Okay. But first and foremost, if you're tuning in and you're like, I have no idea who this woman is, it sounds good, sounds great, but I don't know who you are. I am Tajma Van Buren, podcast host, podcast producer, all things content. Most things in the content world I probably have touched on, from writing to video to podcasting, social media, so on and so forth. And my goal is to support you in your strategy to be seen. You have the skill, you have the know-how, you know what you need to bring to the table. You just got to work through the icky feelings of, okay, I'm being perceived right now. I don't like being perceived, but it's worth it. I'm going to go out there and do what I need to do in order to be seen by the people that need to see me and hear the information that I have to offer. Now, all of this live, if you did not know, there was a live last Tuesday with Krista Walsh, who is a website copywriter. There was a live last Friday with Sheila Hawkins, who is a productivity coach, and Justine Winselchang, who is a brand message strategist. Both of those people are in the world of business, and they offer, or the three of those people are in the world and they offer tools that I don't have, resources and knowledge that I don't have, in order to support us in our goals of being seen. We know, again, I know podcasting. I don't touch the world of setting up websites. I know content. I don't touch the world of productivity other than my 2 a.m. on a Saturday deep dives of YouTube videos of how do I set up my Google Calendar to look like all these different things. The purpose of this live and those last two, and the one on Friday and the one next Tuesday, is to invite you to How to Be Seen, the launch party. Okay? This launch party introduces you to the podcast. What was Coffee Chats podcast is now How to Be Seen podcast. And that where that came from really was originating from, I kept interacting with women that are so dang on cool. Like, can I be your best friend level cool? Can I interact with you and just absorb so much of your wisdom and so much of your knowledge? But the main thing that I kept hearing, no lie, was, yeah, but I'm afraid to be seen. Yeah, I know I'm really good, but I don't even know how to be seen. And to be quite frank, I'm tired of hearing it. Okay. Because there's so much inside of us that needs to come out. There's something within each of us that needs to be shared with other people. The gift that's inside of us individually is a resource and a solved problem for somebody else. And how dare us keep that from the rest of the world? So the whole point is, the second season of the podcast launches on September 15th, which is next Monday. Next Monday. And then I'm hosting a live September 16th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a launch party specifically to gear you up, let you know what you're about to listen to. I've received a couple of different questions where people were asking, is this like what is it called? Is this a listening party? And love a good listening party, but that's not a good use of your time in this context. Okay. So we have absorbed all of this good information. I'm not the first podcast that you're probably going to listen to. I'm not the last podcast that you're going to listen to. But what we can do is use this information to actually take action. The entire premise of this second season is, what are you doing to actually make moves? Which leads us back into our topic for this live, which is we're getting ready for the great lock-in. And fortunately, this podcast coincides with those time periods. But I want to make sure that you are in the room for September 16th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for this particular launch party. It's an hour, 15 minutes. I want to make sure I'm using your time wisely because, again, we're taking action. We're not absorbing new information and not using it. And I don't want you to sit and not do anything with it. I want you to actually go and do something with it. So it's intentionally an hour, 15 minutes, and then we're launching you off into your own space. So the link is in the description for you to get all the information associated with that. There's some giveaways that are for the people who show up in person or live virtually on September 16th, but only to those that actually show up. So I'll get into who those giveaways are and what those giveaways are later into this conversation. But before we get into the main crux of this live, let me introduce our sponsor for this LinkedIn Live series. Now, every podcast guest of season 1 receives a gift. I'm a gift giver. I'm going to send all the gifts. If I have something, and if I find out that you like this kind of coffee or you like this kind of pen, I'm going to figure out, how do I get this to this person? It's kind of just in my nature. Not to mention, I have a mom who is an event planner who's also just as much of a gift giver. So I partner with Let's Have a Bash to gift the podcast guests a little something special. Here's a message from our sponsor. Your clients are elevated. Your brand is elevated. So why are we spending time sending mugs and pins with our logo slapped on it? If you've ever thought that a nice dinner or drinks just didn't fit the moment, but you still wanted to do something meaningful that kept you top of mind, strategic gifting is your next best move. I partnered with Let's Have a Bash in gifting my season 1 guests of the podcast. Their team helped me show appreciation without sacrificing taste or time. From quarterly touch points to retreat welcome tables, you'll be remembered for how thoughtful you are, not just how much you spent. A well-timed gift builds connection. In our business, connection is everything. So thank you so much to Let's Have a Bash for handling not only those podcast guest gifts, but then every gift that I have ever sent, probably to a client for holiday gifts, so on and so forth. I've used this particular service. Literally just call her and say, hey, this person really likes this. This is their personality. And she's like, okay, I got it. Don't worry about it. I got it. So it's perfect, especially for somebody that's not super into crafts. Cool. So getting into our conversation, the great lock-in, September to December. Now, there's a couple of things that during this time period we're doing in order to really maximize this window of opportunity. You know how people are like the arc or the winter arc for the gym, or like you go in with all your sweat clothes, one of those. You go in with those, your hoodie, your sweatpants, and you're going to come out in spring just crazy, body looking crazy. This is that, but in like business form. I mean, if fitness is a part of your goals, that's awesome too. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that we decide what's important to you. What are you laser focusing in on? What do you need to bring to the table in order to bring your best foot forward for, again, slingshotting into 2026. And how long are you focusing on that? For me, I don't know if you noticed, but between August 1st and September 17th, the only thing or the primary thing that I have been talking about is how to be seen, podcasts, and launch party. Because that's my main focus. That's my laser focus. Okay. And I knew that this is the window that I want to do it in. Okay. So that brings me to one of the other points of maybe your laser focused goal isn't stretching across the entirety of September to December, because maybe you need like I think Morgan DeBond calls it like a step change growth, or there's a theory around step change growth. You meet this one goal, rest at it for a second, meet the next goal, rest at it for a second, right? So for me, my first goal was, okay, launch party. We're going to rest at it for a second. Okay, next thing, rest at it for a second. So what is the thing that you're laser focused in on? And then what already exists in order to meet this goal? I feel like we have all heard the saying of there's nothing new under the sun. What you want to do has probably already been done in some version, some capacities. Maybe not by the same person, maybe not by one project. Maybe you're combining something that someone did in this year or this person did in that time, and you're mashing them together in order to solve this really massive problem. Find out who and what those things are, because you don't have to always recreate the wheel. I'm not the first person to launch a podcast. I'm not the first person to do a LinkedIn Live series. I'm not the first person to host a virtual party. So I did the research to figure out who has already done this thing, what lessons have they learned, and how can I use that for myself. This is our learning phase. Now, the trick is not to stay there. This is why I keep saying we are not absorbing information just to not do anything with it. Give yourself a set amount of time. For me, I said, okay, Tajma, you have 2 weeks to figure out this and this and this and the technical things, but then you have to move, because we're not going to allow information overload to paralyze us, essentially. And then consider who is available to close the gap of resources. Like I mentioned at the top of this, I don't do websites. I don't do brand message copywriting. I'm not a productivity coach. On Friday, we're talking to someone that focuses on diabetes and pre-diabetes. I definitely don't do that. On next Tuesday, we're talking to someone that owns a virtual assistants and digital marketing agency. I've never owned any of those things before. So we want to make sure that we are tagging on people who can close the gap of information for us. And the easiest way to do that is look at your contact book. Who are you constantly in connection with that can bridge the gap for you? Do they know someone that can bridge the gap for you? That can teach you something, that can mentor you, that can, and maybe even that's not someone that you personally know. A person that I bring up in private conversations all the time is Morgan DeBond and Maya Angelou and a whole host of people. I've never met either of those people before, but I absorb everything that they have to offer because it's something that's useful to where I'm looking to go. They've done something, said something, experienced something, had the life that I'm looking to have. So why wouldn't I learn from them? Why wouldn't I read the podcast or listen to the podcast, read the books, look at the interviews? Who do you know that can close that gap for you? And then finally, it might be not your most favorite thing that I've said, but decide that impact is more important than your fear. Again, there's something inside of you that someone else needs. We are never running businesses. We're never leading our lives only for ourselves. I often realize a couple weeks ago, I saw my younger sister do something and it said, "Oh," and it was something that I would say and do all the time. It wasn't negative, but it made me realize, oh no, she's watching, she's listening. And in theory, intellectually, I knew that, but to see it in action was dramatically different. So, yes, you can be afraid. The fear is literally never going to go anywhere. But the price of you feeling like, okay, I'm being perceived, I'm scared, I don't know what I'm doing, all of those things is so much smaller in comparison to the impact that you have the propensity to make. So at some point, we have to decide to move with that fear. Um, what is it? One of the quotes, not quotes, one of the Bible scriptures that I mention in almost every single episode of the first season is Matthew 17:20, I believe. If you have faith of just a mustard seed, you can tell that mountain to go from here to there and it will move. We have to have the faith in our abilities, the faith that in our abilities that have been given to us, excuse me. We have to have faith in ourselves that despite what I'm feeling, despite the setbacks, despite all the things that I'm seeing in front of me, it is still 100% possible. And this is bigger than me, which is, quite frankly, the entire premise of this entire podcast, or one of the main pillars of this entire podcast. So, an effort to help you lock in. So, we talked about deciding what you're focusing on. And I wouldn't add a list of like 6 to 10 things, three max, 3 things max that you're really focusing on right now, which doesn't mean that you're not doing other things. It just means that's where 90%, 80% of your effort and your attention is going to go. So deciding what you're focusing on, what resources already exist in order to close the gap of knowledge, and then who already is in your network or in the network of other people that you know in order to close the gap of resource. And then finally, deciding that the impact is more important than your fear. So, an effort to help you lock in for this, I feel like I say it again, come to the launch party. Come to the launch party. This is one of the resources that's available for you to close the gap of knowledge and resources. Okay, September 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then I want to also point to some of the giveaways that are going to be offered. Okay, so there are 3 things that are out there. First, we have last Friday, we talked to Justine Winslow-Chang, who is offering a 90-minute brand message strategy. And one of the things that she mentioned in her live last week is the simple fact that we're probably going to start with the brand archetypes. So go back to that live and grab the resource that she has for the brand archetypes so that when you show up, September 16th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when you show up, you have that resource already done so that you can just move straight into that brand strategy session and make the most of those 90 minutes. That is for any launch that you're having coming up soon. If you have a program that's launching soon, if you have a service that you want help with, if you have website copy that you need help really refining, does this resonate with the people that I'm looking to target? This is that. Then we have VA for a day. This is with the live that I'm doing on Tuesday of next week is with Jen Spears, who is the business owner of Moonwake Collaborative, and she's offering a VA for a day. Now, this is for my folks that you have some things on your to-do list. Now, I'm looking at the little post-it notes that you put off to the side, the brain dump that you did in your journal 2 weeks ago that has clear out your email inbox or add blog posts to your website that you've written 6 months ago, but you just haven't had time to add it, this is where you would use that resource. I can't quite remember exactly. I think it's 2 or 3 hours of focused work from a virtual assistant on whatever project that you have going on. Again, September 16th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You have to be in the room in order to get access to that. And then finally is a giveaway specifically from my business, iMoves Management. My overalls are covering it up a little bit, but we're working with a 30-day copy and paste content calendar. One of the things that a lot of business owners don't realize until we're already knee deep in it is being a business owner often ends up coming with, okay, now I have to be the face of the brand. Now I have to create content. What? So what this does is we're literally setting you up with whatever resources, whatever you need, creating a 30-day calendar so that you can copy and paste whatever video, whatever graphic, whatever photo, ready to go. Okay? So all of the links for the launch party and the folks that I mentioned are in the description of this live. And I believe that's it. I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday, September 16th, next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am so looking forward to your specific lock-in season and seeing you slingshot into 2026. All right, the last thing you'll hear